Let's start with a very interesting story from Anachron 101. You are doing too much. You are abandoning your coworkers. Longtime enjoyer of this sub, I have finally found a position and company that I actually mostly enjoy. And I thought, why not share the reason that I actually found this almost heaven? The LDR at the bottom. So I am a banker. Not the Gordon Gekko type, but the other kind. The one where every time you try to describe what you do, people give you a blank stare and try to say something polite. I worked in corporate finance at a large German bank. Speaking English and German was absolutely required. Ideally, you would speak another language as well, as we financed a lot of stuff all over the world. I worked in a mid-office function, so right in between the sales guys with the huge paychecks and the back office guys who would drop everything at 5 p.m. no matter how important it was. My job back then was to support the sales guys by basically doing their busy work and taking over a deal as soon as it was signed. After a deal has been signed and paid out, you needed to monitor it for the whole length of its run, collect documents, reports, balance sheets, and watch out for legal requirements as well as take part in international meetings and just generally be available for everything anyone needs while coordinating all the in-house departments. Basically, I was the first guy you reached when you came in from outside and wanted something to do with the financing in question. We were separated into different product groups, and when I started, my boss sent me to a product which was managed pretty damn badly by a woman in her 50s who still worked as she did during the 1990s, and this was the late 2010s, and a younger guy who worked with the dedication of a local public servant, or DMV worker for the Americans. So the product was basically going to and I was supposed to save it. I worked hard for a few months to reorganize everything, having to suffer my older colleague who officially was my senior while actually not knowing and the younger guy who didn't do anything. But I got it sorted. Boss was happy and sends me to another product. Now, product 1 suffered because of the people, but also because older lady was constantly sick. Product 2 suffered because the women in question didn't speak English very well and made mistakes. That was an easy fix. I just set up our in-house systems for them so that they would receive reminders when the contract required it, and those reminders gave them a detailed description in German of what they had to do. Boss was even happier. By this point, I did the major work of 2 products when everyone else on the team had a main product and worked part-time, like 30%, in a secondary product. I did 100% for 2 products, but since everyone worked very slowly, it didn't stress me too much. So, a young colleague decided to leave for another department, and someone had to take his place. I was tired of product 1 anyway and told my boss that I would take product 3 together with product 2, but he would have to have another colleague take over for me in product 1, since this had been streamlined so much already that it wasn't much work. Boss agrees. I am always ready to help out. I think you can see where this is heading. Think naive employee believes working a lot will get him praise. A common theme here. I agree as well. I start on product 3, and pretty soon I am handling 75% of all deals in that area. I have a part-time colleague who is incredibly slow because she trusts no one's work, not even her own, and spends hours checking and rechecking everything. And a younger colleague who is beloved by my boss's boss because he plays football, soccer to the Americans. This is where it starts to go wrong. Younger colleague gets a lot of projects, besides not giving a f*** and not working them properly. And I suddenly realize that I have worked there for years, and no one will give me a project or anything else that would allow me to develop, even though I do the work of 3 people, and I am still working in product 1, as my replacement takes no responsibility and shoves everything troublesome my way. I say as much to my boss, yeah, I know, younger me kinda lost out when the brains were handed out. It didn't help that he never gave me more than 100% on my yearly evaluations, always finding a reason why he couldn't give me more. Mostly it was because it would have been unfair for everyone else, and I wanted to please, so I didn't say anything. While I found out that the young football guy routinely got 125% while doing far less than I did. My boss was completely understanding and nice and said that something will come. Now I am constantly angry and depressed, and it's starting to affect my health. Boss tells me to take it slow and to actually call in sick when I am sick. So yeah, I do exactly that. Cue malicious compliance. I have a young child at this stage, and I am tired and angry and depressed and get a lot of colds and other illnesses that, looking back, I can only assume had something to do with my mental state. So I get sick about a week or 2 every quarter. Add to that the 30 days of vacation time and the fact that I had to lose a lot of overtime, and I suddenly wasn't there 24/7 anymore. And it turns out that my colleagues are not only not able to do their own jobs without me constantly supporting them, they are definitely unable to do my job as well, because I had taken on so much responsibility. It became pretty clear that all the so-called seniors' job I was denied, as someone would have had to leave before I could get it, completely relied on me. No one could get my Excel tables to work. I still don't get why people don't just Google stuff. Excel isn't exactly rocket science. And deadlines were being missed left and right. I kind of hoped that this would cause the bosses to realize how important I was, but instead all the colleagues complained that I was constantly absent, and I actually came back to a very negative place that hated me, and a boss who wrote he abandoned his colleagues in my performance review, even though that sort of thing would get thrown out by any HR in Germany. Cue second malicious compliance. I got really angry and told my boss that instead of blaming me, he should see what I actually did for the team and how it wouldn't even work properly without me. He was polite about it, but basically said, "They don't need me, I am just one of the guys there." So I quit, and I am beyond grateful I did. I now have a job in a local bank, 20 minutes from where I live. Instead of 115H, they actually care about their customers and their employees. Everyone tries to work constructively with everyone else. And when we meet for drinks, it's actually nice and has nothing to do with work. Here, no one gives a shit about education or rank. And it's the first time in my life that I don't dread going to work. TLDR, did a great job, got told to slow down because I am not special, slowed down and made people realize they sucked. They turned it around and blamed it on me, got told I am not special. I quit and left, then to their own devices. The malicious compliance was flawless. By doing exactly what was asked, slowing down and taking sick leave, OP exposed how completely the team relied on him. It forced everyone's incompetence into the spotlight and made OP's absence louder than his presence. The next story from K. Rich Comics, wearing combat boots during nursing school. Back when I was in nursing school, we were supposed to wear black, non-porous, closed footwear with non-skid soles for our clinical rotations that weren't Crocs. Most of my fellow female students wore classic nursing clogs like Dascos and Sanitas. I tried wearing clogs like this in the past and had rolled my ankles too many times to recall, so I decided to not go that route for shoes. I'm a military spouse, a vet myself, and have aforementioned ankles, so my footwear of choice was a pair of black leather tactical combat boots. As a show of support and to make sure I always looked sharp at clinical, my hubby always shined up and edge-dressed my boots every evening before clinical. The next morning, the boots always looked professional, they were comfy as hell, I could bump my toes into beds without breaking a toe, and I could wear them all day without having back pain, foot pain, or rolling an ankle. The same could not be said for my classmates wearing more traditional shoes like clogs. During the first week of my first semester, I had an old-school nurse as my clinical instructor. I say old school because she believed female nurses should still be wearing crisp white uniforms with the stupid starched hats, and that our profession lost prestige when we transitioned to scrubs. This instructor got such a bee in her bonnet about my boots and decided that my boots were out of regulation that she threatened to take it up to the director and have me tossed from clinical, thus failing the program. There was nothing in the handbook specifically stating I couldn't wear my boots, since it just stated footwear, which was black, well-maintained, non-skid, and non-porous. Check, 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 check. Furthermore, the pair of boots that I wore was meant to be worn by EMTs, so they were waterproof, bloodborne pathogen resistant, puncture-proof, oil-proof, non-skid, and had reinforced toes. They were just as expensive as Dansko clogs and could handle lots more abuse. I knew I was in the clear, and so I decided to keep on wearing them. The day after the instructor commented on the inappropriateness of my boots, she did a uniform/shoe inspection to make sure we were appropriately attired. I, of course, was wearing my nicely polished combat boots. She failed me for the day based on my boots, so I politely objected, stating that my boots fell within the definitions of acceptable footwear in the handbook. She literally marched me to the director's office like I was kid caught stealing cookies and demanded I get tossed for the boots, failure to follow program rules, and disrespect because I objected to her failing me. The program director, upon further close reading of the program rigs, determined there was nothing that was wrong with the boots. They adhered to the standards set forth by the program, and that they were honestly safer than most of the shoes the other students were wearing because they were waterproof, puncture-proof, non-skid, and had reinforced toes. She rescinded my fail and allowed me back in clinical. After that, I heard not a peep about my boots from any of the faculty the rest of my program. Fast forward to graduation. I had been wearing combat boots since I started and had no intention of stopping, especially since many of the vets that I cared for during clinical always reacted positively to them. Our nursing pinning ceremony, the event where we receive our nursing school pins and are officially recognized as nurses, has an all-white dress code. White uniforms, starched white hats, white closed footwear. The word footwear is key. The dress code did not state shoes specifically, and I knew this. Same bitchy old bat nurse sees me in the hall and makes it a point to tell me I'll have to get some real white nursing shoes to wear to pinning, since I can't obviously wear my black combat boots because we needed to have white footwear. I politely smiled, nodded, said that I'd have white footwear, and went on my merry way, and then wore the all-white Doc Marten combat boots my infantryman husband bought me as a graduation gift to pinning. The instructor stopped me after the ceremony and complimented me on actually getting nursing shoes, at which point I pulled up the leg of my white scrubs and showed her my boots. The look on her face was priceless. TLDR, nursing instructor tries to fail me for wearing combat boots, nursing director okays it, I wear black combat boots the whole program. Same instructor tells me to wear white nursing shoes for the pinning ceremony, I wear white combat boots instead. Edit. So this post kind of blew up, and a lot of people are asking what kind of boots I wear. I wear a ATAC 28 Defenders by 5.11. You can get them directly from 5.11 or at Galls. Thank you for all the love. The malicious compliance was masterful. Every detail followed the rules to the letter while defying the spirit of an outdated power trip. From regulation black to pristine white combat boots, it was bold, respectful, and deliciously satisfying. That final reveal? Chef's kiss. The next story from Suki 5 Buki. HR tries to gaslight me and screw me. They end up bending over backwards. I work for a multinational consulting company. I just recently finished my engineering degree, and since I was already working there as an intern, when they offered me a full-time job, I figured I'd accept it while I looked for another job that I would enjoy more. The project I was in was a complete shit show. The client was always angry at us because we were late on our deliveries constantly. The PL was a good guy but didn't have a clue about what us pawns were doing on a daily basis and would chew everyone out whenever things didn't go as he planned, and the project itself was boring as hell, so there wasn't really any challenge or opportunity for learning anything valuable. To top it off, while most of my coworkers were cool guys, some of them were just slackers that tried to do the absolute minimum, and oftentimes not even that, which usually meant more work for me. There was a huge amount of turnover too, so high that I was one of the vets, despite having been there for only 6 months, so the project never really felt to be getting any traction. To be fair though, they always treated me well and with respect, so nothing to complain on a personal level. After 2 months with my new contract in that sucky project, I finally found a job at another company that I really liked. Salary and other benefits were far better than what I had at the moment, and the project was much more interesting. I passed all the interviews with flying colors, and they offered me the job starting the following month. Great! In my country, you usually need to give a 15-day notice before leaving your current job, or you risk facing penalties. Now, it was my first time switching jobs, so I called HR to confirm this, and they did. It's also relevant that once you put in your leave notice, the company can actually let you go whenever they want before the 15 days are over. This meant that if I would have told them right then that I was leaving next month, they easily could have let me go the next day, and I would have been left without a job for the entire month. With all this information, I decided to wait a couple of weeks before putting in my leave notice, about 17 days before the starting date at my new job, so I could at least guarantee myself half a month's salary. The day comes in, and I talk to HR to put in my notice. They are very polite, trying to convince me to stay, but give up when I tell them what my new conditions will be. Then the conversation goes as follows. HR, all right then, we'll process your leave request. Your last day being 1st October, you will be deducted 6 days of salary. Me, wait, what? Why? HR, oh, you need to give us notice 15 labor days before leaving. It's company policy. Me, but I literally talked to you a couple weeks ago and you never specified that they had to be labor days. We always talked about natural days. HR, I doubt that. It's always been labor days, not natural days. This exchange goes on for a bit, and I start having the feeling that he is gaslighting me. So I try to think of another solution. Me, I still have 6 vacation days left over. Can I just take those rights after I leave? No, sorry, can't do. Company policy. So here I am thinking these duplicitous, gaslighting, unhelpful Tobies at HR have got me by the balls. The only thing he does is remind me that company policy is set in stone. Finally, I tell them that I would look into my options and call back. I start going through my contract to see if I could do anything about this, and I gotta say, I struck gold. The contract I signed was a regular, indefinite time contract. However, the first 3 months of it were probatorial, which meant that the company could terminate it at any time without repercussions for any reason. I looked it up on Google, and I confirmed my suspicions. The same was true for the employee. It had been only 2 months since I signed, so I could leave whenever I wanted. No notice needed at all. With the biggest eating grin I could muster, I call HR back. Me. Hey, it's me, Sucky 5 Bucky, calling you back about my leave notice. I just read my contract, and since I'm still on probatory period, I take it I can leave whenever I want, no penalties whatsoever. Like for instance, right now at 12:39 in the afternoon. Is that correct? Silence for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. I guess we can probably arrange it for you to leave right before 1st October if you wish. No shit. Edit. 12:39 in the afternoon, not morning. This was malicious compliance at its sharpest. Precise, lawful, and timed like a punchline. Hard, perfectly executed. This is what such creepy HRs deserve.